Welcome back, fellow travelers. I want to talk to you today about the pearl and silk markets in Beijing. If you know anybody that's been to Beijing, they're more than likely have gone to one of these two markets, maybe both. And they've probably told you about the tales of how they've gotten everything for cheap and everything's great quality and blah, 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 blah. Well, I'll stop that right there. I've been twice on two separate occasions to Beijing and specifically to these markets. The first time, I guess I was surprised by what I found there. It was, a lot of good clothes that were really cheap. Got a lot of different trinkets, cameras, all sorts of stuff that were priced really well. And that leaves a really good impression on the actual markets themselves. You kind of get caught up on the hustle and bustle of these two markets. Now, one thing that's very important to note is that in these markets, is that you're in very tight corridors with the rest of the shoppers and as well as the shopkeepers. So it is not unexpected that you won't get pulled and tugged and grabbed and told to come into their shop. I've had people that have come and grabbed me by the back of the collar to try to bring me into their store. And for me, I kind of knew it going in that was going to be the situation, so I let it happen. But I saw a lot of different people who were shouting back and getting into altercations with store owners because they didn't like to be touched. And I get that. Just know that if you don't like to be pulled, yanked, and told to go somewhere, you're not going to have a good time at this market. And the money that you will save will not be worth the frustration you're going through. If you're especially paranoid about getting pickpocketed, this might be a place for you to avoid. Now, I'm not saying that I have been pickpocketed, but I have felt uneasy with people grabbing me by my pants and shirt, and just there's a lot going on, and you need to be careful about that. So really take those precautions that you feel are necessary to avoid that type of situation happening to you. And in the 4 years gap that I've had going from my first time going to Beijing to the second time, I will say that a lot has changed in these two markets. Beforehand, you can get things really cheap, like pennies on the dollar. Now in the second go around, I found that prices were pretty elevated and shop owners were fairly agitated at Westerners. Now, a lot of this came from just the haggling and the bargaining that would normally happen in Beijing. So to avoid any unnecessary aggravations on both your part and the seller's part, just know that one of the things that I like to do is you take their starting price, divide it by half, and then add 10%. So it's really easy because they give you a calculator. That's a good starting base. If you offer less than that, I found in the past that they will just refuse to talk to you any longer. They will not want to waste their time on you. Now, there are one or two older vendors who might say, oh, no, I can't, you're too poor, or they'll say something along those lines where they try to guilt you to up their price. Just know that if half is too high for you already, you're not going to get it for what you want. Really, a half plus 10% usually gets the conversation rolling. The amount that you buy will also affect the discount that you get. Now, I will say this, avoid fur products, not because I'm, 100% against fur. I do realize that there are inhumane ways that people have cultivated fur. That's not this discussion. I'm saying that because it's not real fur, or if it's real fur, it's rat fur. One of my friends bought a fake Canada Goose jacket. First of all, you shouldn't buy fake Canada Goose jacket regardless, but it was filled with rat fur. Don't buy fur type of clothing. Know that the shoes are made, they're usually, everything you're going to buy, shoes, clothes, it's all factory defects, or it's fake. Worst is knockoff, best it's factory defect. One of the best things for you to do if you really want a good deal is get there early in the morning. They have a tradition in Japan, or a superstition, that the first person that walks into your store, you need to sell them something, or else it'll be seen as bad luck for the rest of the day. So take advantage of the fact of go early, be the first person at somebody's specific shop, and they will generally be pretty favorable for the discounts that they give you. More than that, I would say that Beijing particularly has so much to offer in terms of notable landmarks, attractions, and just points of interest that don't really spend that much time at these markets. This place, Beijing, isn't that great of a place to shop anymore. There are a lot greater places in the world to shop. So if you're looking at doing a shopping trip, avoid Beijing. I would say go there really for the sights and sounds. But if you're still determined to go to the silk and pearl markets, follow those directions. Really, that will probably lead you to your best experience at these markets. Bring lots of extra cash. The ATM's there. I had my stuff cloned at an ATM there, and so did one of my friends who went at a different time. So don't use the ATMs in the markets. Bring extra cash with you. Just deal in cash directly. Oh, also, do not buy electronics at these places. The electronics are terrible. They're knockoff brands. I had a phone, so I didn't have a phone. I didn't buy the phone. I had stopped at a Apple vendor at the Silk Market, and I had asked to look at one of the phones. At the time, it was the 3GS. I picked up the phone, I turned it around, and I saw the Apple logo was actually flipped backwards, and it said at the bottom, Apple retains all superpower. So, clearly not an official Apple product, I would assume, unless it's a slogan I'm just not aware of. Know that electronics, and if you get like USB drives, generally it's going to be like a small flash stick, and it's going to be weighed down with screws. Like, it's not a good place to go for electronics. Stay away from the electronics there. Really stick to like trinkets, traveling mementos, and tailors who actually make the stuff there for you and size you up. I hope these tips were of use. If you have any tips for other travelers about these two markets or Beijing in general, please let us know in the comments below. I'd like to thank you for making me a part of your day, and until next time, safe travels.